Hey guys, I'm Brittany Hughes. You're watching MRC TV, and this is your reality check. So why do we still let John Kerry talk? Has he not reached his quota of words over the past almost 4 years? See, here's what happens when you let fools speak for your country. Overcome with his latest case of foot and mouth disease, our chief ambassador stood up in front of the press at the State Department yesterday and actually said these words.
Here is a fundamental reality. If the choice is one state, Israel can either be Jewish or democratic. It cannot be both. And it won't ever really be at peace.
Here's the problem with that puddle of mouth diarrhea. Israel has been democratic for years. It's one of the only Middle Eastern countries that is. Jews, Christians, and Muslims coexist within its borders. In fact, Israel is one of the only tiny little pinpricks in the whole region where people of different religions don't get yanked out of their homes and stoned to death or beheaded just because they don't conform to a particular faith. Enter the pathetic United Nations, which is about as useful as an umbrella in a hurricane. Russia can invade Crimea, and there's the world just standing there doing a whole bunch of nothing. Assad can march into Aleppo and start shooting his own civilians on sight, including women and children, and there's barely a peep out of anybody. In fact, out of the 24 resolutions that the UN adopted this past year, 20 were critical of Israel. Only one resolution condemned Syria. One. Not a word was spoken on China, Cuba, Pakistan, or a slew of other nations who are committing gross human rights violations on a regular basis. Still, the United States gives $3 billion a year to the UN, an organization that's clearly becoming increasingly anti-Semitic. And then there's our own administration. Obama can make trade deals with communist Vietnam, a nation that exploits child laborers and oppresses its own people, and this is totally acceptable. He makes bestest best friends with Cuba and praises its murderous dictator as a revolutionary hero. Oh, and yeah, it's all good. Obama can make dangerously weak nuclear deals with Iran, a state sponsor of terrorism that harbors radical Islamic militants, and somehow this is okay. He defends Muslims every time some crazy jihadist hauls off and runs down a marketplace with a truck or shoots a whole mess of people. The State Department helped Afghanistan draft the Constitution for their Islamic Republic back in 2004, but I have not heard any lectures from Obama telling them that a nation can't be self-governing and Muslim at the same time. Same thing goes for Iraq. But God forbid the Jews, who haven't been able to catch a break since, well, ever, build a few homes on a relatively small strip of disputed land that they have a rightful claim to be on. God forbid they don't kowtow to the Palestinians who want Israel wiped off the face of the earth. How dare the Jews defend themselves or purport to have any amount of national sovereignty whatsoever? Israelis have been dealing with acts of terror and violence from the Palestinians for over 2 years, but somehow Kerry says it's the Israelis who are being controlled by extremist right-wing groups. Never mind that the Palestinian government includes Hamas, a recognized terror organization. We'll just brush right past that. Palestine has for years openly advocated for the liberation of Palestine and the destruction of Israel as a nation. They have repeatedly turned down Israel's offers for peace, and yet somehow they're not listed as extremist at all. But then again, this fits well with the Obama administration's policy of never offending Muslims at any cost. Obama's foreign policy over the past 8 years has been nothing short of an abysmal failure. He has made horrible deals with terrible nations. He has cozied up to dictators and tyrants and alienated our friends. His lead from behind mentality helped give rise to one of the deadliest terror organizations in modern history. Refugees from a war-torn Middle East are pouring into Europe and the United States. And our chief diplomat manages to stand before the world and insult one of our most longtime allies. All while Obama sits on a beach in Hawaii enjoying his last few days of taxpayer-funded vacation. And let me tell you this, the next 23 days cannot go by fast enough. And that's your reality check, America. Check us out on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and stay sane out there.